How often do you feel like your thoughts are racing out of control? Do you find yourself struggling to focus, constantly distracted by your mind's chatter? What if there was a way to take charge of your mind, to master your thoughts and emotions instead of letting them control you? Imagine waking up every day feeling calm, clear, and in control of your mental space. Sounds impossible? It's not. It's within your reach, and today, we'll show you how. Think of a glass of water filled with dirt. When you shake it, the dirt swirls, and the water becomes murky, hard to see through. But when you let it sit still, the dirt settles, and the water becomes clear again. Your mind works the same way. It's easy to get caught in the whirlwind of thoughts, emotions, and distractions. But when you learn to still your mind, clarity emerges, and you can see things as they truly are. Welcome to Wisdom Woven, where we dive deep into how you can take control of your mind, using simple, powerful techniques rooted in Buddhism. This video will guide you step by step on how to master your thoughts and find peace within yourself, no matter what life throws at you. So, stay with us till the end and discover the power you hold within to create the mental clarity and calm you've always wanted. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% subscribe. So, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. Every bit of support helps us bring more valuable content to help you transform your life. Taking control of your mind is not a quick fix. It's a journey. A journey that begins with a single step, the decision to take charge. The truth is, most people live their lives without ever questioning their thoughts or the constant noise inside their heads. But when you decide to take control, you unlock the potential for a more peaceful, purposeful life. Keep watching, because we're about to dive into how you can start this journey today, breaking the chains of distraction. When we sit quietly, what do we notice? The mind races. Thoughts jump from one thing to the next, never stopping, never resting. We often feel overwhelmed, as if we are trapped in a storm of endless distractions. The more we try to focus, the more scattered our minds become. But what if I told you that this storm is not something to fight against, but something to understand and control? In our daily lives, distractions are everywhere. The phone buzzes, the thoughts of the past and future pull us in different directions, and even the noise of our own minds can become so loud it's hard to hear anything else. In Buddhism, this is called monkey mind. The monkey swings from one tree to another, never staying still. Our thoughts do the same, constantly jumping, never settling. But just like the monkey can be trained to sit still, so too can the mind. The first step in breaking free from this endless cycle of distractions is awareness. When we become aware of the mind's movements, we stop identifying with them. The mind becomes like the sky. Thoughts are like clouds that come and go, but they don't define the sky itself. By simply noticing the thoughts without judgment, without reacting, we begin to loosen the grip they have on us. Take a moment to observe your thoughts. What are they focused on right now? Are they planning the next few hours, worrying about something from yesterday, or simply reacting to a noise around you? This is natural, but it is also the cause of much of our mental unrest. We get pulled into the flow of thought, and before we know it, we've drifted far from where we want to be, present in the here and now. Imagine you are standing on a busy street corner. Cars rush by, people walk past, and the world is moving quickly. You are just standing still, observing. You don't need to chase after the cars or follow the people. You are simply aware of everything around you without getting caught up in the rush. This is how we can approach our thoughts. The next time you feel overwhelmed by distractions, pause, close your eyes for a moment, and take a few deep breaths. Notice how your body feels. Are your shoulders tense? Is your mind racing? Gently, without force, bring your attention back to your breath. This simple act of focusing on the breath anchors you to the present moment, creating a pause between the thought and your reaction to it. By training the mind in this way, we slowly begin to reduce the power distractions have over us. With practice, this becomes easier. It's like a muscle. At first, it's weak, but with time, it grows stronger. The more we practice bringing our attention back to the present, the less we are tossed around by the distractions of life. One key teaching from Buddhism is the idea of mindfulness. Mindfulness is the ability to be fully present with whatever you are doing, without getting lost in thought. Whether you are eating, walking, or even just sitting, mindfulness helps you connect deeply with the present moment. It's not about trying to control the mind, but rather about observing it with gentle awareness. Start with small moments. Can you be mindful of the taste of your food when you eat? Can you notice the sensation of your feet on the ground as you walk? These small moments of mindfulness can add up, slowly shifting your relationship with distractions. Another important concept is non-attachment. Distractions often pull us in because we become attached to certain thoughts, feelings, or outcomes. We want to solve the problem now, we want to plan for the future, or we want to escape the present moment. But by practicing non-attachment, we learn to let go of these desires. We learn to observe the mind without becoming caught up in it. This doesn't mean we stop thinking or stop planning. It means we learn to recognize when our thoughts are simply thoughts and not truths. We learn that our thoughts do not define us. Just because the mind jumps from one thought to the next doesn't mean we need to follow it. A simple practice to help with this is labeling. When you notice your mind wandering, label the thought. For example, thinking or worrying. By labeling the thought, you create a small distance between yourself and the thought. It's like watching a movie. You see the action unfold, but you're not the character in the movie. This simple practice can help you step back from distractions and regain control. As you begin to practice mindfulness and non-attachment, you'll notice something powerful. The mind begins to settle. The storm of thoughts starts to calm down. You no longer feel as though you're being pulled in 100 different directions. Slowly, you start to feel more present, more centered. But this isn't something that happens overnight. Just like any skill, it takes time. It takes patience. But the more you practice, the more you'll experience the benefits. The distractions may still come, but you won't be swept away by them. You'll learn to observe them without getting caught up. The key is to be gentle with yourself. Don't expect perfection. The mind will wander. The distractions will come. But each time you return to the present moment, each time you pause and breathe, you strengthen your ability to take control. In Buddhism, this practice of mindfulness and awareness is called vipassana, or insight meditation. It's the practice of seeing things as they truly are, without judgment, without attachment. This practice helps us understand the nature of the mind and the impermanence of thoughts. We realize that no thought, no emotion, no distraction lasts forever. They come and go, just like clouds in the sky. So, when distractions arise, don't fight them. Don't get frustrated. Simply notice them, acknowledge them, and return to the present moment. With practice, you will find that the mind becomes less chaotic, more peaceful, and more under your control. This is how we begin to break the chains of distraction. It starts with awareness, grows with practice, and becomes a powerful tool for mastering the mind. The more we practice, the more freedom we gain. The distractions no longer control us. We control them. And in doing so, we create the space for clarity, focus, and peace to emerge. The power of awareness, anchoring the present. When you step into the present moment with awareness, the world changes. It's as if everything slows down, becoming clear, and the noise in your mind fades away. In the constant rush of life, we often forget that the only real moment we have is right now. We're either lost in the past, thinking about things that have already happened, or we're imagining the future, worrying about things that may never come. But what if you could bring yourself fully into the present moment, where peace and clarity reside? Think of the mind as a wild river, always flowing, always rushing forward. You can't stop the river, but you can step back from it, observe it, and see it for what it is. The river of thoughts doesn't have to carry you away. It's only when you identify with those thoughts, when you jump into the river, that you are swept away. But by simply observing, you begin to understand that the thoughts are just thoughts. They are not you, and they do not control you. This is where awareness comes in. Awareness is the act of being fully present, of observing your thoughts and emotions without judgment. It's like sitting by the river's edge, calmly watching the flow without being pulled in. Awareness allows you to see the patterns of your mind. You begin to notice how your thoughts jump from one thing to another, how your emotions rise and fall, like waves in the ocean. But you don't have to ride every wave. You can simply watch them, knowing that they will pass. In Buddhism, there's a concept called mindfulness. It's a form of awareness, but it's more than just paying attention. It's paying attention with intention. Mindfulness means being fully engaged in whatever you are doing, whether it's eating, walking, or simply breathing. Every action becomes an opportunity to practice. Imagine eating a meal. Most people eat without noticing the taste of the food or the texture of each bite. They're thinking about the past or the future, but not the food itself. Now, imagine you are fully aware of each bite, the way it feels in your mouth, the flavors dancing on your tongue. That is mindfulness in action. But mindfulness is not just for small moments. It's a way of living. It's about bringing that awareness into everything you do. From the way you speak to the way you listen, every moment becomes an opportunity to be present. And when you are present, you can't help but feel calm. The noise of the world, the clutter in your mind, begins to fade. When you start practicing awareness, you may notice that your mind is often busy. Thoughts and distractions come and go, like clouds drifting across the sky. But just as the sky remains clear behind the clouds, your mind remains clear beneath the thoughts. The trick is to not attach to those thoughts, to not get lost in them. Instead, watch them as they pass by. It's like watching the weather change. You don't get upset when it rains because you know the sun will come again. So too with your thoughts. Let them come, let them go, and know that the peace underneath is always there. Awareness is also about seeing things as they truly are, not as we want them to be. Often, we live in a world of illusion, seeing things through the lens of our desires, fears, and judgments. But when we are aware, we can see things clearly. For example, when you are angry, you may feel as though the world is against you. But with awareness, you can see that the anger is simply a reaction, a feeling that will pass. It's not the truth of the situation. It's just a temporary cloud in your mind. As you become more aware, you begin to realize that you have more control over your thoughts than you once believed. You can choose how to respond to situations. You can choose to be present rather than caught up in a cycle of worry or regret. This shift is powerful. It's like being a driver in a car instead of being a passenger at the mercy of the road. When you are aware, you take control of the wheel, navigating your thoughts and emotions with skill and clarity. But how do you develop awareness? It starts with noticing. The next time you feel stressed or overwhelmed, simply stop and observe. Notice how your body feels. Are your shoulders tense? Is your breath shallow? These physical sensations are signals that your mind is not present. So, take a deep breath, relax, and bring your attention back to the present moment. This simple practice, done over and over, begins to rewire your mind. Another way to strengthen your awareness is through meditation. Meditation is not about emptying the mind. It's about observing the mind. Sit quietly and watch your thoughts as they arise, but don't get involved with them. Imagine you are sitting by the river, watching the water flow. You are not trying to stop the river, only to observe it. In this stillness, you begin to see the nature of your mind. You realize that thoughts come and go, and they don't need to control you. In time, you'll notice that your awareness extends beyond meditation. You'll begin to catch yourself in everyday moments. The way you react to others, the way you think about yourself, the way you respond to stress. Each time you catch yourself, you're taking back control. You're anchoring yourself in the present, where true peace resides. The key to awareness is practice. It's not something that happens overnight, but with consistent effort, you will notice shifts in your thinking and your life. You'll become less reactive and more thoughtful. You'll stop being ruled by your emotions and instead begin to respond with clarity and compassion. Awareness also allows you to see the impermanence of everything. In Buddhism, we believe that everything is constantly changing. The seasons change, the weather changes, and so do your thoughts and feelings. By being aware of this, you stop holding on to things, knowing that they are not permanent. When you let go of your attachments, you free yourself from suffering. By cultivating awareness, you tap into a deep sense of inner peace that exists within all of us. It's not something you need to chase or find outside of yourself. It's always there, waiting for you to realize it. And as you become more aware, you start to realize that you don't need to control everything. You only need to control yourself, your reactions, and your thoughts. In that space, you find true freedom. The power of awareness is not just about observing your thoughts, but understanding them. When you're aware, you can begin to see the underlying patterns in your thinking. You may notice that you often think negatively, or that you're always worried about what others think. These patterns are habits of the mind, and with awareness, you can begin to change them. It's like catching yourself before you fall into a bad habit. You have the ability to redirect your thoughts, to choose what you want to focus on. As you practice, you'll find that your mind becomes clearer and more focused. The distractions that once ruled you start to fade away. The present moment becomes your anchor, your point of stability in an unstable world. And as you settle into this awareness, you begin to see the world differently. You begin to see the beauty in the simplest things, the joy in the present moment. This is the power of awareness. It's not something you do once and forget about. It's a way of life. It's a shift in perspective that brings clarity, peace, and freedom. And when you begin to live with awareness, you realize that your mind is no longer a wild river, but a calm and peaceful lake. You are in control. You are at peace. And that is the power of awareness. Understanding the illusions of thought. The mind, like a mirror, reflects the world we see. But just as a mirror can show a distorted image, so can our thoughts deceive us. Thoughts appear, they come and go, but they are not who we are. They are like clouds in the sky, passing, fleeting, and ever-changing. When we grasp onto them, believing them to be the truth, we lose our sense of clarity. We become lost in illusions. Consider this. You are sitting in a room with a window. Outside the window, the sun shines brightly. However, the glass is fogged up, and all you can see is a blurry view. The window, the mind, has become clouded by thoughts and emotions. To see the world clearly, you must first clean the window. In the same way, to understand the truth of life, you must clear your mind. Most of us live in a world of illusions because we identify so closely with our thoughts. We think, I am my thoughts. But this is not true. The mind is like a river, constantly flowing. Thoughts rise and fall like ripples in the water. They are temporary and ever-changing. If you try to hold on to them, they slip away like water through your fingers. The more you chase them, the more you feel overwhelmed. A thought is only a thought. It has no power unless you give it power. When you hear a thought, I am not good enough, I will fail, or this situation is hopeless, do you let it define you? Or do you recognize it as an illusion, passing through like a cloud, and choose not to hold on to it? One of the most powerful teachings in Buddhism is that all thoughts are impermanent. They arise and vanish like waves in the ocean. When we let go of attachment to these fleeting thoughts, we gain freedom. Our minds become clear, like a calm lake reflecting the true beauty of the world. We are no longer controlled by every thought that passes through us. We see them for what they truly are, momentary events, not truths. Think of a child standing by the shore, watching the waves crash. The child doesn't try to hold on to the waves or fight them. He simply watches, calmly observing. This is how we must be with our thoughts. We don't need to fight them or hold on to them. Instead, we watch them, acknowledging their presence without identifying with them. We simply observe. When you begin to see your thoughts as just thoughts, you realize that you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them. Imagine you are sitting in a room, watching a movie on the screen. The images and sounds may be intense, but you are the one sitting in the chair, observing it all. The movie does not define you. You are the observer, not the images on the screen. Your thoughts are like that movie. They are not who you are. In Buddhism, there is a powerful practice called mindfulness. Mindfulness teaches us to become aware of our thoughts without judgment. We do not get caught up in the storylines our minds create. Instead, we observe them as they arise and fall. This practice is not about suppressing thoughts or trying to stop them. It is about letting them come and go freely, like leaves floating on a stream. Imagine a busy street filled with people, cars, and noise. It's chaotic, and it feels impossible to find peace in such an environment. Now, imagine stepping back and watching the street from a distance. From this vantage point, the chaos no longer seems overwhelming. You can see it for what it is, a passing moment. This is the power of mindfulness. It allows you to step back and observe the thoughts without being swept away by them. Another way to think about this is to imagine a television with many channels. The thoughts in your mind are like the different programs. Some are pleasant, while others are disturbing or fearful. but you have the remote control. You can choose not to focus on the thoughts that create suffering. You can choose to change the channel to one that brings peace, compassion, or clarity. When we stop identifying with our thoughts, we begin to find space between them. This space is where true peace resides. Thoughts no longer consume us. Instead, we become the silent observer of them. In this space, there is stillness. In this stillness, we find our true nature, peace, clarity, and wisdom. One of the reasons we struggle with thoughts is because we believe they are facts. But thoughts are just mental events. They are not truths. A thought like, "I'm not good enough," is simply a belief, not a fact. It is a mental story that your mind has created. When you challenge this thought, you begin to see that it doesn't hold any real power. It is just a story, a passing moment. Buddhism teaches us that suffering arises when we become attached to our thoughts and beliefs. We create a narrative, a story about who we are, what is happening, and what will happen. But when we let go of these attachments, we find peace. We see that our thoughts are just passing events, nothing more. We stop clinging to them, and in doing so, we stop suffering. This is the path to mental mastery, recognizing the illusion of your thoughts and letting them go. When you stop identifying with your thoughts, you free yourself from their grip. You no longer react to every thought that arises. Instead, you simply observe, and in observing, you find peace. When you begin to see your thoughts for what they are, temporary and impermanent, you stop being controlled by them. You stop letting them define who you are. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them. And when you realize this, you take the first step toward mastering your mind. It is important to remember that this process takes time. It's not something that happens overnight. But with consistent practice, you will begin to notice that your relationship with your thoughts changes. You will no longer be swept away by them. Instead, you will learn to observe them with a sense of detachment and clarity. As you continue on this journey, you will begin to experience moments of peace and stillness. In these moments, you will realize that the mind is not your enemy. It is simply a tool. And when used correctly, it can bring you closer to wisdom, compassion, and clarity. To truly understand the illusion of thought is to experience freedom. When you let go of the need to control your thoughts, you begin to see the world with fresh eyes. You realize that you do not need to hold on to every thought. You do not need to react to every emotion. You simply need to observe, and in observing, you find the peace that has always been there. Let go of the belief that your thoughts define you. Let go of the belief that they are truths. Instead, see them for what they are, momentary, passing events. And when you do, you will begin to experience the true power of a mind in control. A mind that is free from the illusions it once believed. Mastering emotional triggers. The mind is like the wind. It moves freely, unpredictably. And within it, emotions arise like sudden gusts of wind, strong and powerful, pushing us in directions we may not want to go. The question is, can we control the wind, or do we simply follow wherever it leads? In our daily lives, we encounter many triggers, things that spark emotional reactions. A harsh word, a stressful situation, or even a memory from the past can send our emotions into a whirlwind. It's easy to feel swept away, to lose control, and to react without thinking. But what if you could stand firm, like a tree rooted deeply in the earth, unaffected by the wind? What if your emotions no longer controlled you, but you controlled them? To begin, we must first recognize that emotions are not inherently good or bad. They are like the weather. Sometimes calm, sometimes stormy. They are temporary, and they come and go. The problem is not with the emotion itself, but with our attachment to it. We hold on to the anger, the fear, the sadness, letting them shape our actions, thoughts, and relationships. But this attachment makes us prisoners of our own minds. Imagine a cloud passing through the sky. It may be dark and heavy, but it always moves. If we understand that our emotions are like clouds, impermanent and ever-changing, we can learn to let them pass without clinging to them. The key is awareness. When an emotion arises, observe it. Don't judge it. Don't push it away or feed it. Simply notice it and let it be. In this moment of awareness, we create space between the emotion and our reaction. This space is where we find our freedom. Now, let's talk about triggers. Triggers are like buttons. When someone presses that button, an automatic response is triggered within us. It could be a feeling of anger when someone criticizes us or anxiety when we face something uncertain. But these responses are not fixed. They are learned patterns, built over time. And just like any learned behavior, they can be unlearned. When we are triggered, our first response is often to react. We may shout, withdraw, or even feel overwhelmed by the emotion. But with practice, we can choose a different response. The next time you feel a trigger, pause, take a deep breath. In that moment, you have a choice. You can either follow the old pattern, reacting impulsively, or you can choose to respond with awareness. The practice of mindfulness helps us in this. By being present and aware in the moment, we can catch the emotional trigger before it has the chance to control us. In Buddhism, this is called right mindfulness. It's the ability to observe our thoughts and feelings without attachment, without identification. When we practice right mindfulness, we no longer react out of habit. Instead, we respond with wisdom and clarity. Another powerful tool is to reframe the situation. When you feel triggered, step back and ask yourself, why is this affecting me? What am I truly afraid of? Often, what triggers us is not the situation itself, but our interpretation of it. By shifting our perspective, we can change how we feel. For example, if someone criticizes you, instead of reacting with anger, ask yourself, is this criticism true? Can I learn from it? Is this person's opinion more important than my peace of mind? When we reframe the situation in this way, we take control of our emotional response. It's also helpful to recognize the root of our triggers. Often, they are tied to past experiences or unmet needs. Perhaps we were criticized harshly as children, and now, as adults, we react strongly to criticism. Or perhaps we were ignored when we needed support, and now we feel threatened when we don't receive attention. By understanding the deeper causes of our triggers, we can begin to heal them. The Buddha taught that suffering comes from craving and aversion. When we crave something, we want it to be a certain way, and when we don't get it, we suffer. When we push something away, we create resistance, and suffering follows. But when we learn to let go of both craving and aversion, we find peace. This is the essence of emotional mastery, accepting things as they are, without attachment. This doesn't mean we become passive or indifferent. On the contrary, emotional mastery means we engage with life fully, without being swept away by the tides of emotion. It means that we are free to experience our emotions fully, without being controlled by them. One of the most powerful ways to master our emotional triggers is through loving kindness. When we cultivate love and compassion for ourselves and others, we reduce the power of negative emotions. Love is a powerful antidote to anger, fear, and jealousy. When we respond to triggers with love, we disarm them. This doesn't mean that we should always suppress negative emotions. It means that we should meet them with understanding. When anger arises, for example, instead of reacting with more anger, we can ask ourselves, what is the deeper need behind this anger? Am I angry because I feel disrespected? Can I meet this need with compassion? Through mindfulness, reframing, and loving kindness, we begin to change our relationship with our emotions. We no longer view them as obstacles or enemies. Instead, we see them as messengers, pointing us toward areas of healing and growth. As we practice, we find that emotional triggers become less powerful. We become less reactive, more grounded, and more compassionate. The wind still blows, but we remain steady. The clouds still pass, but we can watch them without being swept away by the storm. Taking control of your emotions is not a quick fix. It is a lifelong practice. But with patience and dedication, you will find that your emotional world becomes more peaceful, more balanced, and more joyful. You will no longer be at the mercy of your emotions, but you will be their wise and compassionate master. In the end, mastering emotional triggers is not about suppressing your feelings or becoming emotionless. It's about learning to respond to your emotions with awareness, wisdom, and compassion. When you do this, you free yourself from the control of your emotions and discover the true peace that lies within you. The art of letting go, release, and reclaim. Let go. Just two simple words. Yet, they carry the weight of mountains. In the hustle and bustle of daily life, We accumulate so much. The weight of old grudges, past failures, unfulfilled dreams, regrets, and worries. We carry this burden on our minds, and it pulls us down. Yet, there is a way to set it all down. There is a way to release what is no longer serving you. This is the art of letting go. But what does it really mean to let go? Does it mean to forget about the past or erase everything you've experienced? No, letting go is not about erasure. It's about releasing the emotional grip that holds you hostage to past experiences. It's about freeing yourself from the mental chains that prevent you from moving forward with clarity and peace. Think of a bird in the sky. It does not carry a heavy burden. It flies freely, soaring higher because it is unencumbered by anything. You, too, can soar. But first, you must let go of the mental and emotional weights that keep you grounded. In Buddhism, the concept of letting go is deeply tied to the idea of attachment. We cling to things, possessions, relationships, experiences, and even our own self-image. Attachment is the root of suffering. We mistakenly believe that holding on tightly will bring us security or happiness. But in reality, it only creates more suffering. The Buddha taught that attachment is like holding onto a burning coal. At first, it doesn't seem so bad. You think, I can hold on to this. But after a while, it starts to burn. And no matter how much you want to hold it, the pain intensifies. Eventually, you have no choice but to release it, or it will burn you completely. The sooner you let go, the sooner you can be free of the pain. We often hold on to our pain, thinking it defines us. We build stories around our suffering, giving it more weight and significance than it deserves. But suffering is not who you are. It is simply something you have experienced. When you choose to release it, you begin to reclaim your peace. Letting go doesn't mean suppressing your feelings or pretending that things never happened. It's not about pretending to be happy or pretending that your emotions don't matter. It's about acknowledging the past, recognizing its lessons, and then releasing the emotional attachment to it. When you let go, you create space for something new to enter your life. New experiences, new opportunities, new ways of thinking. You see, holding on to the past is like clutching tightly to a door that is closed. You keep pushing, trying to force it open, but the door will never open until you step back. Only then can you see that there is another way, another door, or a window perhaps that you could enter. When you release the grip, you open yourself up to new possibilities. In our daily lives, it's easy to carry the weight of everything we've experienced. We hold on to our frustrations with others, past mistakes, and disappointments. Each time we replay those moments in our minds, we add more weight to our mental and emotional state. We are not meant to carry this load forever. The practice of letting go requires mindfulness and awareness. The first step is recognizing what you are holding on to. What thoughts, memories, or feelings are taking up space in your mind? Are they helping you move forward, or are they just weighing you down? Take a moment to think about something that causes you stress or discomfort. It could be a memory from the past, a fear about the future, or a feeling of frustration with yourself or someone else. Now, imagine that you are holding it in your hands. Feel the weight of it. Can you sense how heavy it is? Now, take a deep breath. As you exhale, imagine releasing that weight. Picture it dissolving, disappearing into the air. Let it go, not because you want to forget it, but because you are choosing peace. You are choosing to no longer carry that burden. This act of letting go is not a one-time event. It is something you will need to practice every day. Each day, there will be new things to let go of, small irritations, fleeting worries, and occasional disappointments. The more you practice, the easier it becomes to release what no longer serves you. One powerful method for letting go is the practice of forgiveness. Forgiveness is not about excusing harmful behavior or forgetting what happened. It is about freeing yourself from the hold that resentment and anger have on you. When you forgive, you are not doing it for the other person. You are doing it for yourself. You are reclaiming your peace and releasing the emotional toxins that resentment brings. Sometimes, we hold on to feelings of guilt. We punish ourselves for past mistakes, believing that carrying this guilt will somehow make up for our wrongdoings. But guilt is just another form of attachment. It keeps you stuck in the past, unable to move forward. Forgiveness, both of others and of yourself, is the key to releasing guilt. You are not perfect, and that's okay. You are human. Release the guilt and embrace your imperfections with compassion. Another way to practice letting go is through mindfulness meditation. Meditation teaches you to observe your thoughts without attachment. You sit in silence, allowing thoughts to come and go like clouds passing in the sky. You don't hold on to them, and you don't chase after them. You simply observe and let them drift away. This practice helps you become less reactive to your thoughts and emotions, allowing you to release them more easily. But letting go is not always easy. We are creatures of habit, and our minds love to hold on to things. The fear of letting go can sometimes be overwhelming. We fear that if we release our grip, we will lose control or be vulnerable. But in truth, letting go is the ultimate act of strength. It takes courage to trust that by releasing, you will be free. The process of letting go is about trusting that life will unfold as it is meant to, without your constant interference. It's about surrendering to the present moment and trusting that everything you need will come to you in due time. When you let go, you stop trying to control everything, and instead, you embrace the flow of life. As you begin to let go of attachments, you will notice a shift in your energy. You will feel lighter, freer, and more at peace. Your mind will no longer be weighed down by past regrets or future anxieties. You will have more space for joy, love, and gratitude. The art of letting go is not about abandoning responsibility or detaching from life. It's about finding balance. You can still care deeply about the people and things in your life without clinging to them. You can love and support others without allowing their actions to define your happiness. By letting go, you open yourself to a deeper, more authentic connection with the world around you. Release, and you will reclaim yourself. The more you let go, the more you invite peace, joy, and freedom into your life. Take this practice with you into each moment. Let go, breathe, and watch how your mind transforms, just as the murky water becomes clear when you let it settle. Mindful habits, building inner strength. In the quiet corners of the mind, true strength is not about force or struggle. It is about steady, consistent practice. Just like a river carves through stone not with power, but with persistence, your mind can be shaped by simple, mindful habits. The power of these habits lies not in their complexity, but in their simplicity. Imagine, for a moment, waking up each morning with a sense of purpose, not from a long list of to-dos, but from a deep, peaceful stillness within. This stillness doesn't come by accident. It comes from daily habits that train your mind to focus, to stay grounded, and to remain calm in the face of chaos. These habits may seem small, but like seeds planted in the soil, they grow over time into something strong and lasting. In Buddhism, the concept of right effort is essential. This isn't about pushing harder or trying to do more. It's about recognizing the moments where you can cultivate habits that nourish your mind. Every choice, every action you take, can either strengthen your mental peace or pull you further away from it. In this part, we'll explore simple, yet profound habits that will help you build inner strength. The first habit is awareness. It begins with noticing the present moment. How often do we find ourselves lost in thought, caught in memories of the past or anxieties about the future? True strength comes from grounding yourself in the now. When you pay attention to what is happening right here, right now, the mind finds its peace. This is not about blocking out thoughts, but about observing them without attachment. By simply observing, you stop reacting and start responding with clarity. Another habit that builds inner strength is mindful breathing. It sounds simple, but it is incredibly powerful. Every time you bring your attention to your breath, you anchor yourself in the present. It's a practice that, once cultivated, can calm a restless mind in an instant. When the world around you feels chaotic, take a moment to breathe. Focus on the inhale and exhale, letting your body relax with each breath. This simple practice is a tool you can carry with you anywhere. But mindful habits aren't just about being still. They also involve action. In Buddhism, the path to enlightenment is not a passive one. It requires effort and engagement. You don't need to move mountains, but every small action you take with mindfulness strengthens your resolve. Whether it's choosing to smile at a stranger, practicing patience with yourself, or taking time for self-care, these actions add up. They build the foundation of inner strength. There is also the habit of detachment. We hold on to many things in life: material possessions, relationships, even our own identities. But true strength comes from the ability to let go. This doesn't mean abandoning what you love, but rather releasing the grip of attachment. When you are not bound by fear of loss, you are free. Freedom from attachment brings immense inner strength. You become resilient, able to face any challenge without being broken by it. Next is the habit of reflection. At the end of each day, take a moment to reflect. How did you act? What went well? What could have been different? Reflection is not about self-criticism, but about understanding yourself better. Through reflection, you learn your patterns and can gently guide yourself toward better choices tomorrow. This habit of self-awareness deepens your connection to your true self and strengthens your ability to stay grounded. Another essential habit is compassion. Strength is often misunderstood as being hard and unyielding, but true strength is compassionate. When you show kindness to yourself, you create a foundation of self-love. When you show kindness to others, you reinforce your ability to stay connected to humanity, no matter the circumstances. Compassion softens the heart and makes the mind stronger. It is a practice that, when nurtured, becomes a powerful force for both your peace and the peace of those around you. There's also the habit of patience. In our world, we often want things quickly: success, recognition, change. But patience is a virtue that strengthens the mind. The journey to mastering your thoughts and emotions takes time. Like a tree that takes years to grow, you cannot rush this process. Each moment of patience, each time you choose to wait instead of reacting, strengthens the muscle of your mind. Over time, this patience brings deep inner peace. Incorporating these habits into your daily life creates a strong, centered, and peaceful mind. But there is no need to rush. You don't have to do everything at once. Begin with one habit, practice it consistently, and let it grow. Just as a tree begins as a seed, your mind's strength will grow from small actions, one habit at a time. Sometimes, the path to inner strength can feel slow. There may be days when you don't feel like practicing, when your mind feels too restless or distracted. But even on those days, remember, the small steps matter. Each day you practice, no matter how small the effort, is a day closer to the strength you seek. It's not about perfection, it's about persistence. Over time, these mindful habits will become second nature. They will no longer feel like something you have to consciously think about. They will simply be a part of who you are. And as these habits build, so does your inner strength. You will find yourself more resilient, more grounded, and more at peace. The strength you build through mindful habits is not about being unshaken in the face of challenge. It is about knowing that no matter what comes, you have the power within you to remain calm, clear, and steady. You have the power to choose how to respond, no matter the circumstances. That is the true essence of inner strength. As you continue to practice these habits, you'll notice subtle shifts. Perhaps you will feel less reactive when faced with frustration. Or maybe you'll find that your days feel more purposeful, even when you're doing the simplest tasks. These shifts are the signs of inner strength growing, slowly but surely, within you. Remember, the path to a peaceful and strong mind is not about fighting against yourself. It is about nurturing yourself with mindful habits that support your mental and emotional well-being. Take it one day at a time. Be gentle with yourself, but also be persistent. The strength you seek is already within you. It simply needs the right conditions to grow. So, start small. Choose one habit today and commit to it. Whether it's mindful breathing, reflection, or simply being present in the moment, make that choice and practice it every day. Over time, you will see how these habits transform your mind, helping you become the strong, peaceful person you are meant to be. Through consistent, mindful habits, you will unlock the true potential of your mind and create a life of lasting inner strength. Silencing the inner critic. The mind is a curious thing. It speaks to us constantly, sometimes gently, sometimes loudly, always urging us to do this or that, think this or that. But among all the voices in our minds, there is one that can be particularly loud: the inner critic. It's the voice that tells you that you're not good enough, that you should have done better, that you are not worthy of success or happiness. This voice often becomes a barrier, blocking your path to peace and self-acceptance. But what if we told you that the inner critic is not the truth? It's just another passing thought. The first step in silencing the inner critic is recognizing it for what it truly is, a thought and nothing more. It is not your identity, nor does it define who you are. It is just a voice that, over time, has become louder and more persistent, often because we've listened to it for far too long. Imagine you are sitting in a room filled with loud, chaotic noise. Your mind feels like that room, constantly filled with thoughts, judgments, and criticism. It can be overwhelming, and it can be easy to feel like you have no control. But here's the secret. You do have control, and like in a noisy room, you can choose to quiet the noise. The process of silencing the inner critic is about cultivating a new relationship with your thoughts. The first step is awareness. When that voice of criticism starts to speak, notice it. Don't engage with it, don't fight it, and don't try to change it. Simply notice it. This act of noticing creates a separation between you and the voice. You are not your thoughts, and the more you recognize this, the quieter the critic becomes. When the inner critic speaks, ask yourself, is this true? More often than not, the answer will be no. The critic is simply a story we've told ourselves, a story that we've allowed to take hold over time. Ask yourself, does this thought help me grow? Does it bring peace or create suffering? When you start asking these questions, you will begin to see the critic for what it is, an illusion, a passing thought that doesn't serve your highest good. The next step is to replace the criticism with compassion. When that harsh, judgmental voice rises up, counter it with a kind and loving voice. Remind yourself that you are doing your best and that it's okay to make mistakes. Mistakes are part of the journey, not signs of failure. Through compassion, you begin to create a more loving and supportive environment within yourself. You start treating yourself the way you would treat a dear friend, gently, kindly, with understanding. Another powerful tool is mindfulness. When you feel the inner critic's voice getting louder, take a moment to pause. Close your eyes and take a deep breath. Focus on your breath, feeling it move in and out. Notice how your body feels in that moment. The more you practice mindfulness, the less power the inner critic has. By focusing on the present moment, you shift your attention away from the negative voice in your head, allowing it to fade into the background. One way to deepen this practice is through meditation. In meditation, we learn to observe our thoughts without judgment. The thoughts come, and we let them go, like clouds drifting across the sky. When you meditate regularly, you create space between you and your thoughts. The more space you create, the quieter the inner critic becomes. Also, consider the nature of the critic. It often comes from a place of fear. Fear of failure, fear of not being enough, fear of not living up to expectations. But fear is not reality. Fear is a mental projection of what might happen, not what is happening. When you recognize that the inner critic is fueled by fear, it loses some of its power. It is simply an illusion, a projection of the mind that has no real basis in truth. It's also important to note that the inner critic can often arise when we compare ourselves to others. When we look at others and think that they are more successful, more accomplished, or more talented, we start to feel inadequate. But comparison is the thief of peace. Everyone is on their own journey, and your journey is uniquely yours. You are exactly where you need to be. There is no need to measure your worth against anyone else. In Buddhism, we are taught to embrace the concept of non-attachment. This doesn't mean we don't care about our goals or aspirations. Rather, it means we let go of the need for external validation. When we are attached to the idea of being perfect or being accepted by others, we give power to the inner critic. But when we release that attachment, we free ourselves from the judgment of the mind. The more we practice these steps, the quieter the inner critic becomes. It doesn't disappear overnight, but with time and consistent effort, it becomes less and less significant. The key is patience. Be patient with yourself. Just as you wouldn't expect to run a marathon without training, you cannot silence the inner critic without practice. But each moment of awareness, each moment of compassion, is a step toward freedom. Another helpful practice is journaling. When the inner critic's voice gets too loud, write it down. Express what it's telling you, and then take a step back. Read what you've written, and ask yourself if it's really true. More often than not, you will find that the criticisms are exaggerated or unfounded. Writing allows you to externalize the thoughts, which makes them easier to examine and challenge. Also, take time each day to reflect on your successes, no matter how small they may seem. The inner critic tends to focus on what you haven't done, on your shortcomings. But when you consciously focus on what you've achieved, you begin to rewire your mind. You start to see yourself not as a failure, but as someone who is constantly growing and evolving. When you quiet the inner critic, you make space for your true voice to emerge, the voice of wisdom, compassion, and peace. This voice doesn't judge or criticize. It simply guides you with love and clarity. By silencing the critic, you allow this voice to shine through, helping you to make choices that align with your deepest values and desires. Silencing the inner critic is a process that takes time. But every time you notice that voice and choose to let it go, you are taking control of your mind. And with each moment of awareness, you are creating a life that is more peaceful, more grounded, and more aligned with your true self. Keep going, and remember, you are not your thoughts. You are the space in which they arise. The calm within, creating inner stillness. In the midst of your busy day, how often do you pause to just breathe? To simply sit in silence and feel your breath as it enters and exits your body? The world around us is always moving, constantly pulling us in many directions, filling our minds with distractions. But there is a place within you, always present, always still, where peace resides. It is not a place you have to go to. It is a place you can always return to, whenever you choose. This is the essence of inner stillness. It is not about escaping the noise of life, but about learning how to find calm, no matter what is happening around you. Imagine standing in the middle of a storm. The wind is howling, the rain is pouring, and everything around you is chaotic. Yet, in the center of the storm, there is calm. The storm rages on, but you remain untouched, centered, and at peace. This is what it means to find stillness within yourself. In Buddhism, we speak of mindfulness and meditation as ways to tap into this inner calm. But it's not just about sitting quietly for a few minutes each day. It's about how you approach every moment of your life. When you practice mindfulness, you start to see your thoughts and feelings as they truly are, not as facts, not as truths, but simply as passing events in your mind. You become the observer, rather than the participant in the constant whirlwind of your thoughts. The more you practice stillness, the more you realize that you don't need to control everything. You don't need to fix every problem, solve every issue, or quiet every thought. In fact, when you stop trying to control your mind, you allow it to settle on its own. The more you let go, the more peace you find. The act of letting go is not about giving up, but about accepting what is, without resistance. You may wonder, how do I find this inner stillness? Where do I begin? Start by noticing the small moments throughout your day when you can breathe deeply and just be present. It could be when you're waiting in line, when you're washing your hands, or even when you're walking. These moments are opportunities to pause, to reconnect with your breath, and to feel the stillness that is always there, beneath the surface of your busy thoughts. A simple practice to cultivate inner stillness is to set aside time each day for mindful breathing. Sit quietly, close your eyes, and focus on your breath. Feel the air as it enters your nostrils, fills your lungs, and then flows back out. If your mind begins to wander, gently bring your focus back to your breath. Over time, this practice trains your mind to return to the present moment, to let go of distractions, and to cultivate a deep sense of calm. But stillness is not just about meditation or quiet moments. It is also about how you live your life. When you are truly still inside, you are not shaken by the ups and downs of your day. You are not tossed around by your emotions, nor are you overly attached to your desires or fears. Stillness is about being steady and balanced, no matter what life presents to you. To create this stillness, begin by observing your thoughts. Don't try to change them. Simply notice them. Become aware of the patterns in your mind. Are there certain thoughts or worries that always come up? Do you have thoughts that create anxiety or stress? Simply acknowledging these thoughts can be the first step in letting them go. You don't have to hold on to every thought that enters your mind. Instead, you can choose to let them pass by like clouds in the sky. As you deepen your practice, you will find that your mind begins to naturally slow down. You will experience moments of profound peace, even in the middle of your busiest days. This stillness is a gift that you can carry with you wherever you go. It is not limited to the meditation cushion. It is available to you in every moment, as long as you remember to return to it. Inner stillness does not mean you will never feel emotions. In fact, when you are truly still, you become more aware of your emotions. You will feel joy, sadness, frustration, and excitement, but they will not control you. Instead of reacting impulsively, you will find that you can respond to your emotions with greater wisdom and clarity. You will be able to feel deeply without being swept away by your feelings. This stillness also helps you develop a sense of equanimity. Equanimity is the ability to remain balanced and undisturbed, regardless of the circumstances. When you are centered in stillness, you are not at the mercy of the ups and downs of life. You are able to face challenges with calmness, knowing that no matter what happens, you will remain steady. As you continue to practice stillness, you will find that it becomes easier to remain calm and peaceful, even when the world around you is chaotic. You will begin to see that your mind is not your enemy. It is simply a tool that you can use to navigate life. The more you master stillness, the more you can tap into the wisdom that lies within you. Remember, the journey to inner stillness is a gradual process. It takes time and patience, but the more you practice, the more natural it becomes. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to quiet every thought or eliminate every distraction. Simply being present with yourself, even for a few moments each day, can make a world of difference. And as you continue this journey, you will begin to see that the calm you seek is already inside you. It was never lost. It has always been there, waiting for you to return to it. You are not separate from peace. You are peace itself. When you realize this, you begin to experience life in a completely new way. You start to see everything as it truly is, not as a series of problems or distractions, but as a beautiful, unfolding journey. So, take a deep breath and remember, the calm you seek is not something you need to find. It is something you need to recognize. It is within you, right here, right now. The only thing you need to do is to stop searching and start being. When you do this, you will find that peace is not something you have to work for. It is something you simply allow. And in that allowance, the mind becomes still, the heart becomes quiet, and life becomes a beautiful, effortless flow. The infinite potential of a controlled mind. In the journey of life, there is no greater treasure than the power of a calm, controlled mind. You have learned how to recognize distractions, how to tame your emotions, how to let go of the thoughts that bind you. Now, it is time to realize the true potential that lies within you. The mind, when controlled, becomes a tool of unimaginable strength. It is not just a collection of fleeting thoughts. It is the wellspring of creativity, clarity, and purpose. When you master your mind, you unlock the power to shape your reality. This is not about controlling the world around you, but about gaining mastery over your inner world. Imagine this. You are standing at the edge of a vast, calm lake. The surface is still, reflecting the sky, the trees, the mountains. Everything is clear. Everything is peaceful. Your mind, in this moment, is like the surface of the lake. It is free from turbulence, free from confusion. And when your mind is like this, your decisions are clear, your actions are wise, and your life flows smoothly. But this stillness doesn't come from forcing your thoughts into silence. It comes from understanding. It comes from the realization that your thoughts do not define you. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them. Thoughts, emotions, and distractions will always arise, but you now know how to let them pass like clouds in the sky. They cannot shake your peace. In the practice of Buddhism, we are taught to see things as they are, without attachment, without judgment. A controlled mind is one that can observe the world without being swept away by it. It can feel the pain of loss without sinking into despair. It can experience joy without clinging to it. It is free. This freedom is not a state of indifference. It is not a cold detachment from the world. No, it is a deep connection to the present moment. When your mind is under control, you experience life fully. You feel the warmth of the sun, the freshness of the breeze, the simple beauty of each breath you take. You become present, not lost in the past or anxious about the future. But what about challenges? What about the struggles that life inevitably brings? You will face them. Everyone does. But with a controlled mind, you can face them with calm and clarity. You will see obstacles not as threats, but as opportunities for growth. When you are no longer at the mercy of your reactions, you can respond with wisdom. The storms of life will come, but your mind will remain like the calm lake, unshaken by the wind. To control your mind is to cultivate a sense of inner peace that cannot be disturbed. This peace does not mean you will never feel upset, frustrated, or sad. It simply means that you will not allow those feelings to control you. You will not let them define your experience. You will acknowledge them, allow them to pass, and return to your center. This practice is not something that happens overnight. It takes time, patience, and consistent effort. But the more you practice, the stronger your mind becomes. You begin to see the patterns of your thoughts, and you begin to recognize the space between those thoughts. In that space, you find freedom. Your mind, like any skill, can be trained. Just as you practice a musical instrument or a sport to improve your ability, you must practice controlling your mind to strengthen it. And each time you return to the present moment, each time you observe a thought without reacting, you are training your mind to be more focused, more peaceful, more powerful. Remember, a controlled mind does not mean a mind that is always still and quiet. It means a mind that is fully aware, fully present, and fully engaged with life. It is a mind that sees clearly, that acts wisely, and that responds with compassion and understanding. It is a mind that knows when to speak and when to be silent, when to act and when to rest. It is a mind that flows like water, flexible, adaptable, and powerful. So, what happens when you gain control of your mind? You begin to realize that you are not just reacting to life, you are creating it. You are the artist of your own experience. With a controlled mind, you can paint your world with the colors of joy, peace, and love. The infinite potential of your mind lies in its ability to be present, to be aware, and to be free. Free from the endless chatter of worry and fear. Free from the burden of negative emotions and past regrets. Free to live fully, to love deeply, and to experience life in all its beauty. And as you continue on this journey, remember that this is not the end. The mind is a vast landscape, and there is always more to discover. Every day offers an opportunity to deepen your understanding, to refine your practice, and to unlock more of your potential. You will encounter moments of doubt. You will experience times when your mind feels chaotic and unruly. But remember this. Every time you return to your breath, every time you observe your thoughts without judgment, you are taking another step toward mastering your mind. The key is consistency. The key is practice. And the key is patience. Do not rush the process. The more you try to force your mind into submission, the more resistance you will encounter. Instead, allow your practice to unfold naturally, with gentleness and ease. Now, as we come to the end of this journey together, remember that the true power lies not in controlling everything outside of you, but in controlling the only thing you truly can, your mind. When you master your mind, you will discover an incredible freedom, a freedom that allows you to live with purpose, with clarity, and with joy. This is the path of mental mastery. This is the path to a life of peace and happiness. The journey may be long, but every step you take brings you closer to the truth of who you are. And as you continue on this path, know that the infinite potential of your mind is always within reach. Thank you for joining us on this transformative journey. May you find peace in every moment, clarity in every thought, and strength in every challenge. Remember, the mind is a powerful tool. Use it wisely.